Welcome to Write Python Docstrings Effectively. I'm Joseph, and in this video course, I'll be taking you on a magical journey through the world of Python docstrings, their mystical ability to be code and documentation at the same time. Documentation is an essential part of software development, and in Python, one of the best ways to document your code is with docstrings. You know, those little or not so little pieces of text you find at the start of a function, class, or module. You've no doubt read them before, and maybe you've even written a few. But are you writing them effectively? Are they too short, too long, too vague, too much? These are the questions we'll be asking and answering over the next 6 lessons. In this course, you'll learn to understand the purpose of docstrings, differentiate between docstrings and comments, recognize and write Python docstrings in the most common formats, avoid common pitfalls when writing docstrings, and choose the appropriate docstring format for modules, classes, and functions. So what should you know to get the most out of this course? Because this course isn't about writing code in the usual sense, we only recommend that you have a good grasp on Python basics, like functions, variables, data types, classes, and modules. But if you're still building your intuition around some of these concepts, I encourage you to stick around. That's one of the beautiful things about documentation. Whether you're writing it or reading it, you'll be learning something. So let's get started. Next up, we'll begin building an understanding of Python docstrings from first principles. As you know, docstrings are a way to document your modules, classes, and functions. The standard for Python docstrings is defined in Python Enhancement Proposal, or PEP, 257. PEPs are the official way for the Python community to propose improvements and standards for the Python programming language, guiding its development. PEP 257 is titled Docstring Conventions, and it covers their structure and content. It tells you what a docstring should do and lays out general conventions, but what it doesn't do is give a strict prescription for how you must write them. In fact, multiple styles of docstrings exist, and you'll look at some of the major ones in Python, including Google, NumPy, and restructured text formats. One of the benefits of using a particular style of docstring is that you can even use tools like Sphinx that can automatically generate documentation from your docstrings. Ultimately, at a high level, docstrings should provide clear, consistent documentation that helps users understand your code. Now for some technical details. A valid docstring in Python is a string literal enclosed in triple double quotes. That's a requirement. They should be double quotes, and there has to be 3 of them. It must be the first statement of a module, class, or function to be considered a docstring. However, it can be either one line or span across multiple lines. And most importantly, it should document the behavior and usage of the code. I hope that's not surprising. So what does an actual docstring look like? Let's see a couple examples. On the left, you have a single line docstring. And this is fine for a simple, straightforward function. Def determine magic level with the parameter age, and the docstring multiply a wizard's age by 3 to reveal their magic level, with the functionality of simply returning age times 3. The docstring is concise and provides a summary of the function's behavior. And note that the opening and closing quotes are on the same line. This is preferred for single-line docstrings, according to PEP 257. Now examine the function on the right with a multi-line docstring. Def get Harry Potter book with the parameters publication year and title, and a docstring retrieve a Harry Potter book by its publication year and name. Parameters, publication year, int, the year the book was published, title, string, the title of the book, returns, a string, a sentence describing the book and its publication year. With the functionality, return the F string, the book title was published in publication year. It still starts with a one-line summary of the function's behavior, which is also suggested by PEP 257, followed by a blank line and more detailed information. In this case, it includes parameters and return value, with type information and descriptions. And because it's a multi-line docstring, the closing quotes should be on a new line, also recommended by the PEP. And now that you've seen this much, you might be thinking this sounds a lot like code comments. And while they may seem similar, there are some key differences to consider. The first is syntax. Comments begin with a pound sign, a number sign, hash. You know what I mean. While docstrings are enclosed in triple double quotes. Their function is also distinct. Comments are for leaving notes for developers who are working with the code directly, while docstrings serve primarily as documentation for users and tools. which is why comments are ignored by the Python interpreter entirely, where docstrings are actually part of your programs and stored in the $doc attribute, accessible at runtime. Finally, comments can be placed anywhere in your code. And as you know, docstrings must be placed at the start of your modules, classes, and functions. Ultimately, in Python, comments don't replace docstrings and vice versa. They're complementary techniques that each serve a different purpose. And since I mentioned that one of the unique things about docstrings is that they're accessible at runtime, let's take a look how in the next lesson. One of the most important things about docstrings is that they're actually code objects, and they can be accessed at runtime. A few of the ways you can access them include the $doc attribute found on modules, classes, and functions, the built-in help function, and the PyDoc module in the Python standard library. So let's try it out. Starting in the terminal, I've got the two docstring examples from the previous lesson saved as Python files, and one more file, magical characters, that we'll look at in a minute. You can grab all of these files from the downloadable course resources. View the files with ls. And you can quickly examine the contents of the files we saw in the previous lesson using the cat command. Cat one-line docstring.py shows us the determine magic level function. And cat multiline docstring.py shows us the get Harry Potter book function. Same as before with the same docstrings. I'll clear this and open up the REPL. First, import both functions. From one-line docstring, import determine magic level. From multi-line docstring, import get Harry Potter book. And for comparison, also import a module from the standard library. How about math? Import math. So for the most direct way to view a docstring, try printing the $doc attribute. Print determine magic level .doc returns multiply a wizard's age by 3 to reveal their magic level. While printing get Harry Potter book .doc prints its multi-line docstring with the summary, parameters, and return values. And because $doc returns the docstring as you wrote it, you do see leading and trailing blank lines for the multi-line docstring. Then try printing math.doc. This module provides access to the mathematical functions defined by the C standard. Seems a bit short for a module, but you'll find the behavior with $doc is a little bit different when it comes to Python built-ins. And of course, accessing docstrings via $doc is quite bare bones, so it's best you use it for programmatic access to docstrings. In an interactive session like the REPL, the built-in help function is a better choice. Try it on the math module. Help math. And as you can see, you get a lot more detail. This is what's great about the help function, especially when used with built-ins like math. You can page forwards and backwards with F and B, and even search for a text string using slash, like /GCD, takes you to the entry on the GCD function, which just says greatest common divisor. That's accurate. Exit this dialog with Q. And while you can also use help with your user-defined functions, like help get Harry Potter book, it's not quite as impressive as with math. It's pretty much the same as accessing $doc directly. Exit with Q, and exit the REPL with Control-D. Clear. Okay, I mentioned one more tool, and that's PyDoc. Now it's time to look at this magical characters file. Cat magicalcharacters.py, a module docstring saying a module for adding and listing magical characters. Then you have a function, add characters, with the docstring, add a new magical character, and an if $name equals $main guard, before printing the result of running the add characters function. Now, look at what happens when you apply the built-in PyDoc module to this file. Python-m PyDoc magical characters. And hey, you're back on the help screen. Under the name, you have the file name as well as the docstring. Then a list of functions with their corresponding docstrings and where the file is located on your system. This is basically a direct way to access information about a Python module without opening up a REPL session first. Exit with Q again. And you'll find PyDoc has even more features than we can cover in this lesson. But One more really cool one is that it can generate an HTML page out of your docstrings. Python-m, pydoc-w, magical characters. The W flag is what tells PyDoc to write an HTML page. The result is wrote magicalcharacters.html, and with ls, you can see magicalcharacters.html now exists. And you can open this in your browser. Since I'm on macOS, I'll use open with the A flag to open this file with Google Chrome. Open-A, Google Chrome, magicalcharacters.html. And hey, it's a web page. A very, very basic one, but still a web page. Cool, right? Now that you've seen how to access docstrings, next lesson, we'll get to the fun part, writing them. See you there.